Hello and welcome to the show. This is Everything Under the Sun. My name is Ty. Hope all of you are doing amazing out there and enjoying yourselves as much as possible. I've been doing some kind of gearing my mind in the morning as far as just listening to things, just like different audio clips, different speeches, different people speaking about things that are more in line with things I want to do with myself or things I want to kind of start accomplishing for myself in my life, just goals that I want to have, or even different mindsets that I want to start just implementing more in my life or kind of living by more. And as I kind of spoke about in that idea of community, we can bring these people into our lives and we don't have to know them directly, but they can still add so much value. So I've been doing this and it's been kind of shaping my mind in my mornings and kind of gearing the rest of my day in that same mindset, which has been really amazing. But I was listening to this speech by this guy named Jack Canfield, and I'm not sure if many of you have heard of him. He's a pretty popular author. He's written many books that have been bestsellers, but this speech, he was kind of speaking about this gold Buddha that's in Bangkok, Thailand. And when I went to Thailand a few years ago with a few friends of mine, we actually saw this Buddha. Now, I didn't know the story behind it, but this is actually, I guess this is the story that's behind it, and I think that it's something that speaks volumes to just so many things that I've spoken about in this podcast, but also to just who we are as people and things that I think something that we can all take something from. I mean, even as I listen to it, I think that it's something that's really amazing and kind of speaks to, just who we are as people and again, like the true beauty that exists within us. So this is the story.
Now, I was over in Bangkok. How many of you have been to Bangkok, Thailand? How many of you have seen the Golden Buddha? It's one of the three tourist attractions. You always see the Jade Buddha, the Golden Buddha, and the Reclining Buddha, and that kind of thing. And this Buddha is 10.5 feet tall of solid gold. The gold value alone is about $196 million. That doesn't even count the artistic and the historical value. And when my wife was taking that picture, I was over next to I'd say about 5 feet away. There was a big glass case. And in that case, there was a piece of clay about a foot wide, 2 feet tall, 2 feet thick. And it said that in 1953, they did not know there was such a thing as a golden Buddha. They were moving this large clay Buddha from one side of Bangkok to the other to make room for a road that was coming through. And as they picked up the Buddha with the crane, because it was very heavy, a big crack went down through it. And as the crack went down through it, the head monk got scared and he lowered the Buddha down. And he said, we better take a look at it and see if we've done any damage to it. And it started to rain, so they put a canvas over it to keep it dry. That night, the monk came out and he shined a flashlight in to see if it was staying dry, and something reflected back from inside the crack. He said, clay does not reflect light. There must be something else in there. And so the next morning, they chipped away in behind where they wouldn't see it if they made a mistake, and lo and behold, sure enough, was this golden Buddha. And their best theory is that 300 years earlier, when the Burmese were attacking Thailand, the monks of this monastery covered up the golden Buddha with clay to make it look worthless so they wouldn't steal it. They also think all the monks were killed in a massacre and the secret died with the monks. And then they rediscovered it. The word discover means what? Take the cover off of, discover something. It was always in there, but they took the cover off. I was having dinner with my wife that night, and she said, Jack, that Buddha is like all the people in our seminars. They come in with this cover of clay of their negative beliefs, their self-doubt, their sense of guilt and shame, their beliefs that they're not enough, that they're not worthy, they don't deserve. And what we really do is we take the clay off so this golden essence can come and be there as who they are again, their true identity. It's not like we put anything in. It's just that we remove the things that are not there. I think Barbara talked a little about that earlier today. So as we go through this next hour and a half, think about and hold that metaphor, that image of the Buddha, and it could be the golden Christ, the golden Buddha, the Atman, the source, whatever you want to call it, but that's who you really are. And although we do a lot of things of giving you more information and tools and all of that, really, if you were to stop doing the stuff that's negative, as Harv said, you've been defined. When you came in, you were just fine. And what we did was we layered on all that stuff. If we could just start to remove that and realize that everything you need is in you now. You have everything you need to do everything you want to do. It's just that we learn not to trust that. So we'll hold that as a metaphor.
I think that story is really amazing because I think it does speak to that gold that exists within us, that kind of that invaluable beauty that exists within us that can shine outward, if we kind of remove some of the things that are clouding it, that are blocking it. And I think that's like, kind of like the root of what I get with most of these things. Like that's why it comes down to us, because at the end of the day, it's like there's this gold that's being shadowed or being dampered or being covered by these other situations, these other people, these things that keep us down. Those are things that are blocking that gold, that light from shining out. So I think that we can all kind of take something from that. I know I definitely take something from that as I reflect on that. But again, the person that's speaking in that audio clip is Jack Canfield, and he has a few speeches online that you can listen to, a few books that are out there. He's the author of Chicken Soup for the Soul. That's an entire series. There's some for kids and teenagers. I was like looking it up. It's pretty cool. I mean, he's written many, many bestsellers, and I think it's like he's one of the only authors to have 9 bestsellers on like the bestseller, like 9 books that are bestsellers at the same time. It's kind of really insane. But he also was in the movie The Secret. I'm not sure if any of you have watched that or read the book or anything like that. But I think there's just so much power in listening to people and kind of bringing people into your life that are going to give you those metaphors, or to allow you to ask those questions to yourself of, are you doing yourself that service of recognizing the light that's within you, and the beauty that exists within, all of us, and the potential that means, that holds. So anyway, I'm going to get going with this episode. This is The Box. Thank you so much for sending topics still. Everything.sunpodcast@gmail.com if you want to send those in. And yeah, any thoughts, ideas, or anything like that. I love each and every one of these topics. This idea on collaboration has been coming for a while, and I'm definitely going to have a follow-up on this episode, because I had some intentions behind this episode that didn't really follow through. But that's just how life works sometimes, and that's okay. So we're going to see what the topic is for next week, and we will go from there. So this piece of paper that I pulled out is actually, oh, I thought it was blank. It's not. Morality. So that's going to be the topic for next week. And something, I'm kind of surprised by this, but for the past few weeks, the topics that I've come up, they've kind of been things that have started to, they seem to be relevant in my life in some kind of way. Like this idea of collaboration, like it's been kind of insane how it started to find its way into my life, as far as it being something that's very relevant for me. It's something that's very necessary. So this idea of morality, I'm kind of wondering how my morality is going to be tested if this is the topic for next week. But this is something that's so big. It's something that goes into just the way that we see the world, the way that we see different situations, the way that we see ourselves responding to different situations. And it can be something that can really cause us to think critically about things that are serious issues in the world. So our morality is something that's very big, and morality itself is something that, is it a social construct? Is it something that enough of us just believe and then it becomes something that's moral? I don't know, but that's something that's for that episode. Today we have the topic of collaboration, and this is something, like I was saying, it's kind of a new idea for me. I'm not sure if I spoke about this before, but just the idea of asking for help, or asking for assistance, or asking for just anyone else to be part of like my plan or my intention to do something, it's always been something that's very difficult for me. So this idea of collaboration, and as I'm working on some things for myself, I'm working on a few things that are almost necessary, and as I kind of listen to more things, I'm realizing that's more and more necessary that I do start collaborating with other individuals on these ideas. And as I was listening to some other videos, and it constantly, this idea of collaboration kept coming up. It was kind of crazy. It's like every single video was on like kind of different topics, but similar themes in a way. But this idea of collaboration kept coming up, and how important it is to collaborate. And there was one that I was listening to that was speaking about collaboration in this form of just how it's within the essence of creation. It's like collaboration is necessary for anything to be created. And I started to kind of go in my head about this, and was really thinking about it. And I started to realize that that's true. It's within the essence of everything that's created. There has to be some kind of collaboration that exists. Whether it's collaborating on a business idea to help a business to grow, or even the individual, like let's say it's, some person that carves wood. The collaboration exists between the wood that the earth provided. It's like, of course, this is kind of like a stretch with collaboration, but collaboration is anything that we have to work with and trust and use in order to make the outcome that we desire. So the person that's carving the wood has to work with the wood that they're surrounded by, has to work with the density of it, the softness of it, they have to work with the knife that they're using in order to carve it. They're not going to use a butter knife, it's like it wouldn't make sense. So it's like, we have to start recognizing, or I guess we don't have to start doing anything, but it's nice to start recognizing that this collaboration is something that is within the very things that we try to create. Even within our thoughts, there has to be some kind of impression to start the creative process. And that impression can be from you, or it can be from, anyone else. Like when I was saying, imagine a gold star with a monkey in it, or, if you listen to that episode or not, it was the last episode, but, that is an impression that, your mind has picked up, and then it starts a creation process. But some kind of impression has to be made before the creation process starts, and that's even with our thoughts. So there's a collaboration that exists within the very essence of just, life. And it seems like it's something that's so necessary. And this is something that blew my mind as I started to break that down. I'm like, if it's within, like the very fabric of just our thoughts and just how everything was created around us, then I guess I have to fight that insatiable desire to retract everything that is collaboration. Because, I don't mind working with people, but we've all been in those situations where it's like, you try to work with someone and they don't pull their weight, or it's not done the right way, and you kind of feel like, well, I may as well have just done this myself. I've kind of gotten stuck in that mindset of just skipping all the BS and just going right to just working with myself. And I think I've been in that process for so long that it stopped me, or kept me blind to the potential and the very reality of the fact that collaboration is something so necessary. So there are three things that I'm going to mainly go about in this episode, and it's going to just speak about just the main components of collaboration and the ways that we can gain the most from collaboration. And of course, that starts with just understanding what collaboration is and the benefits of collaboration. So, I mean, as far as just the benefits of collaboration, we all kind of know that. And as I was speaking about it just a few minutes ago, there is just the entire aspect of creation that is possible with collaboration. And it's something that allows us to kind of rely on other people, like not hold all the weight of that idea on our shoulders. And even if we're the ones that are like thinking about it, like the person that desires to show those mental images and express them in the world, they're utilizing their resources. They need to use some resources, otherwise it's going to stay in their head. We have the ability to connect with other things and other people outside of us to create the things that we want, and that's really the biggest thing about this entire idea of collaboration. It's how do we create the things that we want for ourselves? And that's what we want. I mean, that's what we want out of life, to create the life that we want for ourselves. But if we sit with ourselves and not really recognize that idea of collaboration, then we're not going to move very far. And this is something that I've recognized, where, this idea that I have, that I've been, kind of working on, it's not getting very far without that idea of collaboration. So as I started to reach out to more people, as I've started to connect with more people, it's starting to come more to fruition. So often we can find ourselves stuck in a situation and feel as though we're unable to get ourselves out of. I mean, collaboration is something that we do all the time. It's like we collaborate with coworkers to make sure we get our job done. If you really think about it, collaboration is the basis of almost any relationship that we have. I mean, you have to collaborate with this other person. You're working with this other person. You're trusting this other person to build whatever it is that you're trying to build together. If we think about this idea of collaboration and really just apply it to our lives and the things that are successful in our lives or not successful, we can really think about it in terms of collaboration. When we think about just relationships, like whether it's a friendship relationship, an intimate relationship, a personal relationship, a business relationship, whatever type of relationship it is, there is some kind of collaboration that exists. It exists with another person. Within each relationship, we have to depend on that other person in some kind of way. We have to rely on that person, trust that person, and these are all things that exist when we try to collaborate in different ways. When you have those aspects of collaboration, that trust, that dependency, that ability to rely on that other person to hold their own weight, then this is a prime collaboration. This is something that works well to get you to where you want to go and get both of you to where you want to go. Because if both of you are targeted towards the same goal, then both of you are going to have that same passion towards having that goal. And that's where it comes down to the challenges of having a collaboration, because we've all been in those situations where we've had those people in our lives that just, they maybe weren't dependable. Maybe they weren't able to hold up their end of the deal. Maybe you couldn't trust them with the things that you'd like to trust them with. This is something that we've all dealt with in some kind of way. Again, like maybe you've had a group project, maybe you're trying to plan a party, and there's that person that if you assign them to get streamers and balloons, the one thing that's not going to be at that party, or the two things that are not going to be at that party, are streamers and balloons. It's like there's always that situation where there's that person that, we just know that they cannot bring a certain aspect that we need. And, sometimes they're still in our lives and that's perfectly fine, but we just have to know in the ways and the degrees in which we can collaborate with them. Because maybe they'll show up. Maybe they're one of the people that when they say they show up, they'll show up. But they won't show up with the stuff that you ask them to show up with, but they'll show up. As opposed to like maybe people that will say that they are going to show up and they don't show up. So, I mean, that you can collaborate with them in certain ways, that they're going to be there, whatever that is. But we have to just take into account like how much we can collaborate with someone, how much trust and, towards a specific goal we can have with someone else. So that's really how it comes down to this final aspect of just strategically collaborating with people. It's finding those ways to find those people in your life, and this is kind of going down to that or crossing paths with that idea of community. It has to be something that's strategic. You have to understand what you want, the goals that you want to accomplish, and how this other person is going to help in accomplishing those goals. What benefit do they have in it? What is going to be the balance dynamics within that relationship or within that group that's going to allow that collaboration to work? Because like I was saying, with relationships being dynamics, and being some kind of collaboration, there are certain things that exist within that, certain balances that exist that help that relationship to exist and help that relationship to thrive. There are some people where, there's that idea of opposites attract. And the idea of that is because the other person counterbalances the other person in a way. And that counterbalance allows them to stay balanced in that relationship. Maybe one person is quiet and timid and the other person is, outgoing and boisterous. They come together and you would think that they wouldn't even meet in the same party or in the same room or even in their lives in some kind of situation, but they come together and they love each other. And although radically different, they balance each other out in that way. And I'm sure in so many other aspects, they also balance each other out in that way. And as we think about collaborations, we have to think about ourselves on that scale, our goals on that scale, and how are we going to accomplish this balance that's going to help us to thrive and keep going. So kind of bringing this all together, the idea of collaboration is something that is just within the very essence of life and creation. In order for us to create anything, there has to be some kind of collaboration. Like if you think about it in your own thoughts, like it's something that's so necessary. So as we think about that and how collaboration and successful collaboration or strategic collaboration is something that accomplishes the things that we want, then how do we get there? And the thing that I realize is that we can't move anywhere until we realize the benefit of going in that direction. Again, like it wasn't until recently when I started hearing all these benefits of collaboration and realizing that my stuckness, my feeling of not moving anywhere as far as this business is concerned, it was because of this stubbornness that I had with collaboration and not feeling comfortable enough to collaborate, not feeling as though I can trust others to collaborate. The benefit of the collaboration shifted my gears for me and started to open up my doors to allowing this collaboration to exist. So we have to understand the benefits of collaboration. We have to understand the challenges that come along with collaboration so we know what to look out for. Because there are so many things that will dampen the ability for us to collaborate and for us to bring our full selves to a situation. Or maybe we bring too much of ourselves and get burned out because the collaboration isn't working right. So we have to understand the challenges that exist so we know what to look out for. We can identify those red flags. And then at the end of it, we can find strategically the people in our lives that are going to help us accomplish the goals that we want. Find the right balances, or maybe create the people in our lives that are going to be the ones that help us get to where we want to go. And that last part, that strategic collaboration, it's something that is so important. And as I was speaking about before, about the person that wants to carve wood, carve different structures or sculptures in wood, they have to use the right knife. They have to find the right wood. They wouldn't use a butter knife, like I said before, to start carving wood. It's not something that would be, I'm sure it would work, but it would make the job a lot harder. It would take a lot longer. I'm sure the person would get frustrated a lot sooner. So we have to find the right knife, so to speak, or the right knives, the right cutlery, whatever you want to decide to put that in terms of. But we just have to find the right fit to make it as seamless as possible. And sometimes it takes trial and error, but a lot of times it takes us understanding what we want and the goals that we want to have and finding other people that are on board with that, fully on board with that. And then we can create anything that we want. So that's all I got for this episode. If any of you have any ideas or thoughts or anything that you'd like to share, you can send those to everything.sunpodcast@gmail.com. You can join any of the social media pages, Instagram at everything.sunpodcast, Twitter at everysunpodcast, or the Facebook group at everysunpodcast as well. And yeah, that's all I got here. Love you all, and I will see you next time.